You are parked outside a hotel you did not budget for. The moving truck is already unloaded. Your new job starts in 48 hours. And the house you just bought is full of water. Not metaphorically, literally. Fresh keys in your pocket. Wet drywall in the new place. Fans running where your first night was supposed to happen. This is the part nobody puts in the home buying montage. The part where you move across the country for a clean start, a better salary, a new house, maybe a new version of yourself. And before day one even begins, the house stops being a home and turns into an emergency. So now you are in a hotel room, staring at your keyring like it is a joke somebody forgot to stop telling. Because technically, yes, you are a homeowner. But practically, you are just a tired adult in temporary housing with a mortgage, a damage claim, and no local backup plan. Water damage is bad for anyone. A leak is a pain. A burst line is expensive. A flood before move-in is brutal. But when it happens right after a cross-country move, the problem gets psychologically distorted. Because now the house is not just damaged. It is damaged at the exact moment you needed it to become the stable part of your life. You do not have your old apartment anymore. You do not have your old routines anymore. You may not even have your old job anymore. You already crossed the bridge. That is why these situations hit with such weird force. It is not only repair stress. It is shelter stress, timing stress, money stress, and identity stress all arriving in the same box. The move was supposed to end uncertainty. Instead, uncertainty followed you into the driveway and unlocked the door first. That is the emotional betrayal hiding inside this scenario. When people relocate, they usually tolerate chaos in exchange for one anchor. The new place. That is where the boxes go. That is where the toothbrush lives. That is where the work clothes hang. That is where the nervous system finally starts believing the move is real and survivable. So if the house is the thing that breaks, the whole move starts to feel contaminated. Now every normal task becomes harder. Where do you sleep? Where do you shower? Where do you put the electronics? What gets ruined if the hotel takes longer than expected? What if the drying takes a week? What if it is mold? What if insurance argues? What if the contractor is booked out? This is why people in this situation often stop sounding like excited buyers and start sounding like disaster coordinators. Because that is basically what they become. If this happened in the town where you already lived, it would still be awful. But when you moved cross-country, everything gets more fragile. You do not know who to call first. You do not know which plumber is solid. You do not know which restoration company is overpriced. You do not know whether the contractor your agent recommended is actually good or just available. There is no familiar handyman, no local friend with a truck, no parent dropping off towels or fans, no easy, just stay with someone for a few nights. That is why even small damage starts feeling huge. Because every solution requires building a support system and an emergency response plan at the same time. You are not just handling a repair. You are trying to improvise an entire local life, while your house is still acting like a broken project. This is where the math gets ugly. You already spent the moving money. You already paid the deposits, the truck, the fuel, the cleaning fees, the setup fees, the closing costs, the weird last-minute purchases nobody remembers until they happen. Your cash is not sitting peacefully in savings. It is scattered across a relocation. And now, here comes the bonus round. Hotel nights, extra meals, laundry, storage, replacement basics you packed for a house that is suddenly not ready. Maybe time off work, maybe a deductible, maybe repairs that insurance moves too slowly to cover. That is why the first flood after a move can feel financially obscene. Not because one bill is impossible by itself, but because the move already left your nervous system and your checking account thinner than you wanted to admit. This part is predictable and still vicious. Your brain starts replaying everything. Should I have caught something at the walkthrough? Was there a smell I ignored? Did I trust the seller too easily? Should I have asked about the water heater? Should I have flown in earlier? Should I have kept the old place one more month? The mind loves retroactive control. It would rather call you stupid than accept that timing can wreck careful people too. And yes, sometimes there were clues. Sometimes there were not. Sometimes a supply line fails at the worst possible moment, and the new owner just inherits the timing. But psychologically, that distinction barely helps in the bed at first week, because shame gets there before perspective does. The story in your head is not an unpredictable thing happened. It is, I moved my whole life for this, and now I look like an idiot in a hotel room paying for a house I cannot use. That is the hidden shift. Before the flood, the house meant possibility. After the flood, the house starts asking questions. How much inconvenience can you absorb without melting down? How fast can you make decisions with no rest? How many calls can you make before your voice starts sounding fake calm? How long can you act professionally at a new job while your real life is sitting inside a damp construction zone? And that last part matters more than people say. Because relocation stories are often tied to work. You moved for the role, or the opportunity, or the salary bump that finally made buying possible. So now you are trying to be the competent new person at work, while privately living inside a low-grade housing emergency. That split identity is exhausting. Outwardly, stable, responsible, exciting new chapter. Privately, hotel key, contractor voicemail, moisture readings, and the sinking feeling that your fresh start is already covered in paperwork. You did something hard. You moved. You bought the house. You handled the lender, the title company, the timing, the logistics, the goodbyes, the anxiety, the paperwork. You were supposed to have at least a tiny window of pride. One quiet night. One takeout dinner on the floor. One moment where the keys felt like proof that the risk was worth it. But when the flood happens before day one, even that gets stolen. And maybe that is what makes this scenario so emotionally sharp. The costs are real. The repairs are real. But the theft is emotional. It steals the first memory. Instead of remembering the excitement of arriving, you remember panic, towels, contractor numbers, and the strange humiliation of owning a house you cannot really enter. Eventually the fans stop, the walls dry, the boxes get opened, the house becomes usable. But the first scar on a house is never just material. It becomes a psychological bookmark. The moment you learn that homeownership does not wait for you to settle down before it starts testing you. And if this happened to you, the sentence that probably sums it up is not, "We had a leak." It is, "We moved our entire life for a home, and before the first real day began, it became a problem we had to survive." That is why these stories stay with people, because the house was supposed to welcome you. Instead, it introduced itself with a disaster.